Facts don't care about your feelings. Facts don't care about your feelings. These are facts.
Let's get back into some news, I suppose. So I want to draw attention to two different news stories that basically came out around the same exact time. They're both from last week. They're like April 19th, April 20th, that time frame. The first story from CNN.com, headline, Ohio doctor accused of overprescribing fentanyl to the dying found not guilty of murder. Headline, from the body, quote, the Ohio doctor accused of overprescribing fentanyl to his critical patients and hastening their deaths was found not guilty of 14 counts of murder. Says Husel faced 14 counts of murder as prosecutors said he purposefully administered excessive doses of fentanyl that caused or sped up the deaths of patients in the intensive care unit from 2015 to 2018. All the counts also included the lesser charge of attempted murder. Quote, if you hasten a person's death, even if their death is as sure as the sun is going to rise in the morning, if you hasten that along, you have caused their death under the eyes of the law, Franklin County Prosecutor David Zane said in closing arguments. But the real interesting thing about this is the guy defending the doctor, William Husel, the doctor, his defense attorney was a man named Jose Baez. Does that name sound familiar? Because it probably should. He's probably one of the most famous defense attorneys in the U.S. And what you're probably most likely to have heard him from is that he represented Casey Anthony. He's also represented Aaron Hernandez, that football player who killed multiple people and then killed himself. He also represented Harvey Weinstein for his sex crimes. It wasn't like he represented Harvey Weinstein for something else. He also represented a gentleman named Mark Nordlicht who was basically doing a Ponzi scheme and got caught for fraud. I think there's probably some more you've heard of, but those are the main ones highlighted in this Wikipedia page, and those are generally the ones I remember him for as well. So I do respect defense attorneys in some sense. People do need to defend them, but at the same time, why does he only defend? He's basically known for defending scumbags who are obviously guilty and or just really kind of deserve to be punished. And I suppose he's good at what he does, because the fact that Casey Anthony did not get prosecuted, that is crazy. The fact that he was able to convince a jury she was not guilty, that requires talent, because we all know she's guilty, straight up. But he was only able to make them question her guiltiness because he basically smeared her dad as a terrible monster, a sexual abuser, and none of that was based in fact. He just needed the audience the jury to doubt that Casey Anthony did it. And the best way to do it was to, paint her dad as a sexual abuser. And then, the Aaron Hernandez thing, it is sad because he had the major brain damage, but he was obviously guilty. That's known. Come on, dude. And then Harvey Weinstein, that really just takes the cake. Just the fact that same guy went on to represent this doctor who was killing people with fentanyl. Come on, that's messed up. And he got away with it too. But at the same time, I wanted to draw attention to another story happening at the same time. Mac Miller's drug supplier was sentenced to 11 years in prison. One thing they pointed out is that the guy who was charged, so this is from AV Club, quote, Rivas noted in court that as the middleman, he did not know the counterfeit oxycodone pills that he gave Miller's drug dealer were laced with fentanyl. And that is probably entirely freaking true. A lot of middlemen are like forced into selling drugs. They're not like the kingpins. A lot of them are just sustaining their own habit and are a middleman in order to get supply and make money. It's all just like the doctor who got off scotch-free, he was straight up just giving people fentanyl. This dude was selling drugs on the street that he got from someone else who's probably telling him, like, flip these pills and bring me back the money. Like, it's just shows that, like, the lower down you are on the drug supply food chain, the more you're punished for it. Like, we know that the government, I mean, just the fact that fentanyl is the drug of the, like, street opioid drug of choice now. It took less than a year of the U.S. abandoning the opium fields they were protecting in Afghanistan for that to happen. What a strange coincidence. So, what we're gonna do is prosecute the closest drug dealer to the customer, not their supplier, not the supplier's supplier, not their supplier, which is the government. The government. Like, why isn't the supplier of the drugs that the dealer sold in this Mac Miller article, like, why wasn't his supplier charged? They act like, oh, well, obviously, they even bring up his defense about the supplier, but the article doesn't ask any questions about it. Like, it just really shows how fricked up our drug policy is, and really how, since the beginning of the discovery of drugs, there has been a system around it where an elite class has access and poor people don't. Like, that's kind of how it's always been. We're just especially egregious about it.
All right, Nick, don't panic. Think back to med school. Seriously, baby, I can prescribe anything I want. I know I'm supposed to cut something, but what? And where?
And this next story, I mean, I don't want this to bring me joy, but it kind of does. Headline from CNBC. Netflix shares crater 25% after company reports it's lost subscribers for the first time in more than 10 years. And then in the key points section. Shares in Netflix cratered more than 25% on Tuesday after the company reported a loss of 200,000 subscribers during the first quarter. Netflix blamed increased competition, password sharing, as well as inflation and the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine for the stagnant subscriber growth. I don't think Russia and Ukraine have anything to do with this. I mean, maybe people in Russia or Ukraine are canceling their subscription more rapidly, but who knows? What it really comes down to, it's not even password sharing either. It's just like, I've been on this tip for a while, but the content on Netflix sucks. It sucks. And if they take away password sharing, a lot of people are just not going to use it. Straight up, honestly. No one's going to make their own account if they're just mooching off of another person's account. I mean, I am mooching off of an HBO Max account, and I would make my own if I was forced to stop. But that's HBO. That's HBO. That's way better than freaking dumb flicks, crap flicks. And the thing, Netflix, their business model revolves around making you forget about their content. They don't want you to remember it. Like, that's why they make like 5-episode seasons, and then like, oh, forget about that, now watch this next 5-episode season, now this one. Maybe 3 years later, not really, maybe a year later, they'll think about making a new season, and then they'll just kind of cancel it at some point and be like, oh, just watch this new thing, who cares, watch this new thing, keep watching, and none of it lasts or matters or feels particularly relevant. So I just pulled up Netflix, and I'm going to look at some of these original productions for Netflix. So let's go to the new and popular section. For Netflix originals, we have number 1, White Hot, The Rise and Fall of Abercrombie and Fitch. I would watch that because I am interested by the company Abercrombie and Fitch. They were really big when I was younger, but I've seen so many Netflix documentaries, and they're all made and produced in the same kind of boring way. And so it's like, I'm interested in this despite of everything around it. Like, I'm really only interested in it because of the content. Now we have number 3. This is a Netflix sci-fi thriller. It is a nearly 2-hour long Armageddon movie already. Okay, it's called How It Ends. Like, that's another thing about Netflix. All their shows just, they're like, okay, make a show about how it ends and we'll call it How It Ends. Like, it's just so flat and boring, and like, I bet if I watched this movie, I'd be like, that was pretty good, and then forget about it in a week. That's how they all are. Now let's look at the next one. The Adam Project. Sci-fi adventure, feel good, witty. Time-traveling fighter pilot Adam Reed teams up with his 12-year-old self on a mission to save the future with Ryan Reynolds. Woohoo, yippee! I mean, okay, it might be okay, but like, who cares? It's just God, dude. I mean, I could keep going. Like, there's all these... The Lincoln Lawyer. Coming May 13th. Welcome to Eden. Suspenseful sci-fi TV. It's like, none of these premises sound that bad, but they just like poop them out in a big pile. Like that.
For me to poop on!